Dandelion song. So you know I've been interested in the Bride of Christ, whole symbolism, what does it mean, on and on, left some more decodes. And so I was watching Casey at End of the Stars, as I do. And he always has really interesting things and really good decodes. And he's more of a seeing the decode in the shapes. And, you know, he can see codes kind of in the architecture and things like that. So he has a lot of really good skills like that. He doesn't often bring the gematria into it. And I have a feeling that he feels that it might be wrong to do that, but I'm not sure. So I hope he doesn't mind that I'm going to take the Muppets a step further. He also didn't mention any Bride of Christ connections, and I think that's really the whole enchilada with August here. I think that's the underlying message of 888 as far as the Illuminati is concerned. And I do think that there is a Bride of Christ type of symbolism going on that actually doesn't have to do with the Illuminati. They, of course, wrote the Bible, but I do think that there is a peaking of the evolution of man. People are rising up in kindness and truth. They really are. You can see it in your neighbors. And I think it's really accelerated since 2012. A lot of people said that 2012 wasn't anything. But I have really noticed a lot of change since 2012, especially just in the kindness and decency and calmness and long-seeingness of the average people who are on the street. So that, to me, is the sort of grassroots Bride of Christ type of idea where we are ripening to the kingdom within. If you're a Christian, please don't be angry with me, because I don't allow angry Christians to speak on my YouTube. And it's not so much censorship as it is, I would like to keep my channel clear for people who are more flexible-minded, and I don't really want the divisiveness. It doesn't. I think that the people who are ready to learn are more shy. They're not bullies, and they feel shut down by a divisive environment. So that's why I don't allow that, and I hope that I will be able to stay on top of that. And I do feel that angry people need to lose a layer of anger before they can you know, even cognate through these things. So they have some homework to do. It's not like they're on the edge of getting it. All right, well, anyway, so back to the Bride of Christ idea, and let me pause this and bring up the date of this movie of Muppets Take Manhattan. Hold on a second. All right, so this was a 1984 musical comedy by Frank Oz. You know, we could spend all day on this page. This is just 1984 with Orwell and everything. We should actually look at a lot of things that came out in this year, because Or is the 33, and I did the gematria of well, and it's back there in my notes. I can't reach it right now, but it matches basically. And I want to watch this again, the Dark Crystal, because there are some Egyptian hieroglyphs. That hippo goddess looks like she's on this movie. So it'd be fun, you know, if we had like a coding, like a book club where we read a book together, or if we could have, you know, we could watch a movie together and discuss it. All right, well, anyway, 1984. That's probably as far as I want to get into the craziness about this. Casey at End of the Stars, he mentions a lot of really great tie-ins and clues having to do with the release dates and the running time and some other things about this. But let's get back to what I have found just with the gematria and the Bride of Christ. All right, well, before we get to the first picture that I did, the Muppets, here, look at these numbers. This is a 1313. And we know that that's a Georgia Guidestone number. That's also an MM number. It's also a 44 because 13 reduces to 4. So this is a 4-4. This is an inversion of the number on the fire engine, the Philadelphia train wreck. So this is the number, this is an anagram of the number of days between the train wreck and 9/23. And this is, you know, I keep seeing this 811 number here, and it has to do with Nefertiti. And Nefertiti, I think, has to do with the Bride of Christ. And I just didn't have a lot of clues when I first saw the Nefertiti. I have the Nefertiti up on my unlisted blog, and I'd like to invite you to that. I'm trying to figure out how to do that because I'm not getting my comments. So, still working on that. Still working on it, because you need to send me an email, I guess, to do that, for me to invite you. I'm kind of working on that. All right, well, anyway, this is an 811, so I think that's a Bride of Christ number. But I just wanted to show you that in the Jewish gematria, the 811 is kind of a boa constrictor. This is Hekates is the dark aspect of the moon goddess, and I don't know a lot about it, but of course I don't think that the moon is what we're really talking about here. And they do like to mix up Hekates with the positive aspect and just confuse everyone. So anyway, I just point that out. But 88, this is definitely what we're talking about in August, is these 88s. Okay, Python, sulfur's kind of a revelations number. So this is the Muppets. So this is what I really wanted to show you down here before I got to the other things that I did on this, is that this, I believe, is the correct spelling of Joshua. And I really hadn't done this gematria before. So that is really interesting to me, that this is a 118, could be a 116, but this also adds together to be a 14, and this is the number that we saw having to do with the stock market, and the 868 of the stock market, the 86ing of the stock market, which I guess it's recovered now, so that's wonderful. I guess we have agents on the ground trying to stabilize that for the best interest of the people. I hope it keeps going that way. It's a little bit scary to think about devaluation of currency, especially if it's engineered. But this is an interesting connection, because we are talking about the bride of Christ, and I want to talk about it in terms of, you know, what the Illuminati is doing with the concept to basically scare everyone, and what the natural occurrence is, where I do think people are actually ripening and maturing within, and they are ready to have the kingdom of God within, which is the marriage of the bride of Christ and Christ within. So it's really interesting. Now, one of the things that the dark Illuminati likes to do, and I do think there is dark and light, or at least different shades of gray, they like to dirty these numbers. So they will, of course, name things that are kind of scary with Joshua or Christ numbers. And the reason why they do that is because humans are very sensitive to the vibration. You don't realize that because you're so much in your daily physical life, but you actually are very sensitive. Most humans are. And so if they let this holy Joshua number keep its really clear truth vibration, it would really set the compass for a lot of people. If they cloud up the vibration, then they will have more teenagers on a wrong path, more people, you know, lost in the tall grass of how they want to behave because they don't have a compass. So this is why they deliberately dirty these vibrations. So this is why we have ground. This is why they named that area and that tragedy area of the 9/11. That's why they named it Ground Zero, because it matches with this. And this might be also why when people think of the Muppets, let's come back up here, you kind of have a warm, fuzzy feeling in your heart, don't you? Well, they are warm and fuzzy and lovable, but there are also some other positive aspects of this number. Well, so let's look at these other things here. So the Federal Reserve is kind of like a, you know, not such a good association. Ground Zero is not a good association. I would say Holy Joshua would be a good association. George Soros is definitely a very scary person. Scary. Wizard of Oz, you know, like if you can kind of gauge your sensitivity on this if you think about your early associations with the Wizard of Oz, how just the title kind of made you feel like you stand up a little taller. It feels like, you know, almost like the Golden Road, or, you know, so you can, this is your association with these numbers. Prophet Elijah, I almost named my son this, but I didn't. Prophet Daniel, this is Daniel 5 in the ancient Babylon. If you haven't seen my video on ancient Babylon and how it lines up with the Freedom Tower, Washington Monument, and Georgia Guidestones, that's really, really good background to have. And I think it's also very fun and interesting to go back and look at the time-lapse drawing of Inanna, Isis, Virgin Mary, Marty, whoever they drew over there. I believe that is what we're talking about. One of the symbols of the Bride of Christ. Not so much the exclusive symbol, but kind of like Joshua. You know, Joshua was a symbol of Christ. He embodied the Christ energy, and then Mary, his wife, or his mother, who are two different people, they would both embody matching energy to his, which would, a matching energy would be a bride. You see? All right. Just want to show you this, the perfected man. There are some Illuminati who actually wish to be perfected. It's interesting because I've been playing this on the guitar recently, Homeward Bound, and it's been ringing in my head. When that happens, you're basically on a certain page, and I can tell it's really interesting how it rises up in your life. I'm sure this happens to you too. Happy Valley, absolute evil. You see, so we can mix this. We just mix these up. They don't want this vibration to be clean. They don't want people to have a compass. So they name these very confusing things. All right, well, I'm going to pause this and we'll go back. Actually, I have to show you first, and just a glance at this number will show you, because when I was watching the video by Casey, I was drawing the gematria in my book while I was laying here. And what first shocked me was that Mupp is 50, and I'm still trying to figure out this 50 word, but Pets is 41. And I noticed that on like PetSmart, where they have the blue and the white, and they tell you which one is smart and which one's not smart, and the pet is not smart. And so it's interesting that Pets have a 41, which is blind. That's the number for blind. If you take away 6 from 41, that's 35, which is eye. So that, so I just kind of was like, wow, oh, I love it when the words break down like that and you can really understand. But also this is, this 110 number is the number of stories in the tower, and I left that comment for Casey. I hope he sees it. I think the channels are blocked from seeing each other, but I do wish to share that information with him so he can bring it to his viewers if he wishes. So the Jewish gematria here, though, is a 9-9. Yeah, and I think there's more in here too besides that. Oh, it's the 9-9 and the 14. 14 is half of the time that the towers were allowed to stand. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to show you the 9-9 and the 5-4-5 associations with the Old Testament. I think that's kind of it. I guess Dark Souls. But this 110 is the one that really jumped out at me because it has so many villain. Adolf Hitler, Osama bin Laden. I mean, it's not a mistake that these guys match. Christmas, probably not so much a villain thing. I can't figure out completely what Christmas is all about, but I do think it has to do with the Star of Ra. I don't think it's about Christians. I don't think it's about Joshua. I wish we didn't celebrate it. This is kind of a villain sort of a guy. This is seems to be a villain number. So these are 110 and 660 associations, so if you can kind of store these in your brain. This is the one that occurred to me, Rockefeller, because Rockefeller was the sponsor for those buildings, the Twin Towers, and Casey and Other Stars, he makes the association with the Muppets that they're really talking about the burning down of the towers, which is the marriage of the frog and the pig, and I will get to that symbolism. It's quite shocking. I can't believe I never thought of it before. But before we get there, Ronald Reagan, 110, since this is such a central number, I think we need to spend the time and just learn all of these. Independent, Nicole Kidman, Great Dragon, the Green Man. This is Cernunnos. Got to keep an eye on that. The Grim Reaper. You know, there's some I'm not mentioning, but you can go ahead and memorize them if you feel like they are important. Prophetic interest. Paris, France. Now, we've been talking a lot about Paris, France. This is very useful for me to know, and I hope I remember this. Come on, brain, don't fail me now. All right, let's see. What else do we have? I love dragonflies. You guys love dragonflies? Okay. Let's just make sure that we got everything. Oh, no, we can't leave without knowing that. I have no idea what that is. Okay, let's go back. All right, so I on YouTube I went to the clip of the wedding and just to watch that part. And they're singing a song called "They're Finally Getting Married Now." So I had to look at that, and I wanted to show it to you as the background because this is 4 days. Oh, this is a 366. So anyway, you see there's an 8 and a 3 here. This is a 9. Here's really where you see the 9 and the 11. So there's not so many gems in here, but I just wanted to show this to you really quick. Then, so in the movie they have these penguins singing that, and so of course everything in these movies is important. So I looked up 12 penguins, and you can see the numbers here. We have a 2 and a 9, and this is what we've been talking about again and again. This is the B. The B is the 2, to be or not to be. That's Isis. She is the bride, and the B is pregnant. And the 9, the Illuminatus observer said that it has to do with Set. Well, I'm going to actually put that on my back burner. I've kind of been tossing that, ping-ponging that around in my head for a few days, and I think I'm going to stay with it's the all and the nothing because of the fractal, not the vector math aspect and the seed of life codes of 9. So this would be Isis, and the husband would be the all or nothing, the all and the nothing, right? And she's pregnant with the product. She is the one. She combines the 1 and the 2 to make the 3. All right, and anyway, that also adds to 9/11. Here we have 3 7s, so this goes to our way number. Except for there's 3 of them instead of 2. And then this number, I believe, is the number that we saw in the stock market. And one of my YouTube friends, Timothy, gave me another clue about this number, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on what it was. Feels like I need a better filing system for my clues. But this is, it's a 9, as you can see, with a 33 core. And when it has a 33 core, that's kind of like all these words that have an OR in the middle. Like worm, George, Morgan, those words. I love all these people. Doesn't matter what their name is. I'm just talking about the name. Okay, so this, I just want to show you that this, it's kind of like, again, with the valence field where it has a 6 in the middle and a 3 on the outside, or a 33 and a 3, but it does definitely have the 9 and the 6, and the 6 and the 9. So when they chose 12 penguins here to dress up in Vatican colors and to all point their heads up like this, these are like, you know, those guys out there in the Bohemian Grove, they wear hats like this. So this is not a mistake. Plus they have 12 candles here. And I've talked to you about candles. So this is a number for 12 Penguins Choir, because it's not a mistake that they're in the choir. And this is just the number over here for 12 penguins. And here you can see that you have the 2 and the 9 mirror. And we just got finished talking about the 2 and the 9. So this is kind of a 9/11, you know, it's like a little 9/11 party over here. Also, this is the 118, which is the Nefertiti number. This is a 7/11, and I've talked to you about Psalm 23 before. I want to make a video, but I've just talked about it in a few videos. I don't think I've made a special video on 7-Eleven convenience stores in Psalm 23 and how the signs of the convenience stores show the picture of Psalm 23. But that's also the ratio of the pyramids, and the pyramids are symbolic of the evolution of human thought, among other things. And it doesn't make it a bad number. If the Illuminati is using this number, they're probably taking a sacred number and using it to scare people with. It seems like, you know, they don't vary too much off of that recipe. And then here we have a 9, a 9/11 and an extra 1. But maybe I didn't find anything in the Jewish gematria here, but the equivalents, other equivalents that match these two numbers are Christ's return, Great Tribulation, phony promises, and pearls before swine. So I thought that really fit in with the theme of the Bride of Christ. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we look down the long aisle and we see the frog and the pig here. And so Kermit in Jewish gematria equals 2, 3, 4, which matches in Jewish gematria. It matches friends, mud, despicable me, black beast, and falsehood. Also, I want to point out that this is a one number off. This is a counting up number, so it would be like a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a count up, and I showed you the count down number having to do with 1, 3, 4 and the Red Fire Engine Philadelphia. I showed you that. So there is an echo of 1, 3, 4 in here, and it's interesting because if you added another 3, 4 to this, and maybe there's some, code reason to do that if I watch the movie, this gets close to the square of 5, which I've been talking about. And so, because when on one of the videos that I did about adding the fire engine, adding the 134 days to the May 12th, which adds to 923, and then if you double that, because next to the fire engine there was a man with a blue shirt and the mirror of 34 on his shirt, and if you add that together, that adds to 1098. Which is October 27th, 2015. That's why I just did a video on that. So I had been wondering, why are we not squaring the complete phi and putting a 2 in front? So there may be some date numbers in here. For example, this could be, May 4th or something like that. We've seen just in August how creative they are with the numbers, and so it's pretty hard to figure out what dates they could be pointing to. Kermit, in this English and simple gematria, as you can see, we have another 9/11 staring you right in the face here. I bet you green has something to do with that, because I looked up Walgreens before too, and I can't remember it all right now, but it matches Titanic, Master, Disney, Airplane, Columbia, Welcome, Bible Codes, Woods, Victim, Nissan, Black Beast. Now the Black Beast matches on the English and the Jewish, as you can see, and that's pretty rare when you have a double match, because the Jewish gematria has so many difficult rules that to have different letters match up, I think is really special, and I think that the Illuminati pay attention to that. Also migraine, zigzag, pentacle, jackpot, fiction, and despicable. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Also, just the word frog. I wish I had something to draw with to show you. Let me pause it and see if I can do this. Alright, I apologize, this isn't the best, but I wanted to show you the 618 here. The R is the 18th letter. And this is, of course, what we've been talking about. Backwards, this is the Bride of Christ number. It's also stock market. It's also Allison Parker's name. Forwards, it is June 18th, which is the 169th day of the year. So this, you can see that this reduces to a 6 and a 9. 69 is the arch on the Freemason. Is the keystone of the Freemason arch, and it has a Cancer on it, and it's supposed to be the pinnacle of evolution, where the crab balances all the elements, earth, air, wind, and fire. Well, this day is 169 with 196 remaining. Well, the anti-date of this would be the 169th day. 169th day. See, if I have a bigger document than this, then my computer will lag. That's why I chose this document, even though it's not perfect. Okay, so this day, so the 169. Oh, I wrote the wrong thing. So the anti-date is the 196th day. This date is 7/15. This is July 15th. This is when they started Jade Helm. Now this goes to a G, and this is an O. So I want to show you that frog is the perfect word for this. I should have done a different color on that. Let's do a different color. How about blue? Frog is the perfect number for these numbers that these codes we've been talking about. There's no other word like this. If there is, you guys can tell me. So this is just, to me, I feel like this is really hitting it out of the park. I haven't seen anybody else talk about this. Frogs are, of course, also in Revelations as coming out of the mouths of false prophets. So I guess you could say that, you know, the people who, I don't know, I don't want to say that Jim Henson is a false prophet. I grew up liking him, so like everybody else did, probably. Okay, well, anyway, I do love Kermit, and it's probably because I've been programmed to love Kermit. So I have to reconcile that. I just saw a puppet at the store, and I wanted to buy it. It reminded me of Kermit. Do you guys still like puppets? I'm a grown woman, and I still love puppets. Okay, so this is the whole enchilada with frog. And I haven't seen anybody else talk about this, and this is a very core aspect of the Bride of Christ aspect here. He is the 6996. He is the free and the fallen. Now the go, let's look back here at go, because when you go from the 9 to the 6, let me get my pen back. If you go from the 9 to the 6, oh, all right, we're still in blue. Okay, this is the way that I understand that you're going from the 9th dimension to the 6th dimension. Well, this kind of makes sense if you think of God. Let's just put the D over here and the 4, because that's the 4th letter. Now I see the D as the dome, and then the idea of God would be almost like the word Anunnaki, and they called them the Anunnaki gods, so it could be like a, you know, a redundant, what's that called, where you say the same thing twice? Because Anunnaki means those that from the stars came, and this would be the stars, the 9th level of the dome, which is above all the levels of the archons, according to the Gnostics, down to the 6th level, which is the 6th dimension. We are now in the 3rd. So what all the hoopla about is here is us trying to get from the 3rd to the 6th. And what the speculation is that humans are so good and strong and have been so poisoned and have become that humans, due to their abuse and poisoning, we've actually become like superhumans. So once we pop from the 6th to the 9th, which is a lot of people expect this to happen this year, when we pop from the 6th to the 9th, that the purity of your own heart is going to take over, and you will pop right past the 9th. You will be past the Anunnaki, the ones who didn't fall, may or may not be called the Pleiadians. Those guys, I believe, are at the 9th level, possibly the 12th to the 9th, but humans are expected to blast out of here like a rubber band, because basically what they did is they took the precious divine creation and put us through the ringer and basically made us very, very strong and good. So when people are worried about the 666, that is a step in the right direction from where we actually are right now, my dears. So if you think about this, God actually means, if you look at the word, if this is why I love to do these numbers, because it gives you so much insight. To go means to go down in dimension. And here you would go down within the dome, and this would be the eye cosmology that Casey talks about. And you might think I'm a Fruit Loop for talking about the eye cosmology, but if you look at the Egyptian symbolism, they have torus field cosmology and eye cosmology for their major symbolism, and I would not dare to call the Egyptians Fruit Loops because they are smarter. They are smart. Also, eye cosmology is hidden in plain sight. So I believe the Illuminati know about this too. They're just teaching you the wrong thing so that you can't find the places on the map where they don't want you to find, because they want to have continents where that they don't share with you. That's why they teach you the wrong map. All right, so here we are. This is God. This is the word God. So this frog, now in this story, he would symbolize Christ, right? I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just trying to understand the symbolism here. So he would be a 6996. And to me, what this means is this is a person who has the flexibility to come out of the dome. He has the freedom to come out of the dome. Most people are trapped in the dome, but you have to have the balance, which is the keystone, to be free. So he has the ability to come out of the dome, and he has the commitment and the love, not that the Anunnaki had commitment and love, but the Christ has the commitment and love to come back in the dome for the people and for the bride. So, I know, very strange, right? Really strange. All right, let's go on. Okay, so here we are. We have Bride of Christ symbolism here. This is why I'm bringing it up. Not that I am trivializing this. No, I'm not doing that. I believe that the Illuminati has hidden code in here, and they like to do, especially in children's themes. So I'm just looking at what the codes are that are hidden here. So Miss Piggy, her gematria is a 9 gateway right here. And she also has a 44 here, and she also has a 74. Now this is GD, which is the God word without the O. So you could see that as 9 to 4. You could see that. Or I mean 7, wait, yeah, 7, 4. Right, of course 7, 4. So that's July 4th. Actually, I don't know what day of the year July 4th is. You have to, let me pause it and figure that out. All right, so it is the 185th day with 180 days remaining. So it's the aphelion, the point in the year where the Earth is the farthest from the Sun, occurs around this day. Well, so this is a 9, and this is a 9 and a 5, which adds up to a 14. And maybe that's why they care about the 14 number, having to do with the marriage of Christ and the Twin Towers, the 14 years and the 18 years. In leap years, this is the number. So this, we already know, is a very important number to them. The last, I think, leap year was 2012, but I'm kind of going off my memory with that, so I could be wrong. All right, so back here to this, where we have these Miss Piggy numbers. What I wanted to show you was that the English and the symbol gematria matches blood sacrifice. And as I remember, blood sacrifice in the Jewish gematria equals, has a tie-in with the Bride of Christ numbers, which is the 816, or some kind of anagram of that number. Now, like I've told you a few times, English is not a free language, and they program this language for you to trap you with. This is a language that traps you. When you say things that you think are beautiful to other people, you might not be saying a beautiful frequency to them. So I just want to point that the I love you matches this frequency, which is Miss Piggy and blood sacrifice. And we know that she is a ham, as in Buckingham Palace. That's the 22 number, the ham of Abraham, in which Abraham was entrusted with raising slaves for the Anunnaki lords because he showed his willingness to sacrifice his child. Now, I don't see how any religion could grow up generation after generation of rational people thinking this is the father of your tribe, someone who doesn't blink at sacrificing a child, and the God that he's loyal to is a human asks for human sacrifice. Like Abraham wasn't surprised. And if Abraham was surprised, they would have in the Bible where Abraham says, hey, God, did you fall down some stairs? Are you all right? Because normally you are a kind and loving God that I follow, and you're a good and righteous God. So why are you asking me to kill my son? Because that's ridiculous. There's no scripture like that in the Bible. No, Abraham just says, oh, okay, where's my knife? No, why don't people question that? That's staring you in the face. Something's wrong. Something's wrong when a whole religion is based upon somebody who's willing to do that for their God and is not surprised. Well, anyway, if you read the Anunnaki texts as translated by Zechariah Sitchin, Abraham was chosen by the Anunnaki for his loyalty. Yes, they did require human sacrifice, and he showed his loyalty. He was also a military leader, and he guarded their rocket, their spaceports and their rocket silo type of things. And because of that, they decided that they would allow him to become the father of the slave race that they were creating, which was the hams. This is why Buckingham Palace has a ham in it. Okay. Let me just show you the numbers. This movie's called The Muppets Take Manhattan. That title in the Jewish Gematria equals ancient bloodlines of the Illuminati, power, and Xavier. When I was first breaking away from the church, this person showed up mysteriously in my life, and his name was Xavier. And I did think it was strange at the time because he scared me. There's something about him that scared me. And you guys maybe don't know this, but sometimes when you meet people, they're not actually real people. They just look like real people. Well, anyway, he got into my head and scared me about questioning the church, and I actually burned a bunch of books that would be against the Catholic Church that I had. Just books like, like different interpretations of the Bible. I mean, they were really rated G back then because I was barely starting to wake up. Anyway, he showed up and he tried to turn me back to the church, and I stood there and burned a bunch of books with him next to me. So anyway, when I saw this pop up, I went, wow, I wonder if he was real. I wonder he could have just been somebody trying to turn me back to the Vatican, keep me under Vatican control. Let's go to the next slide. Sorry this is getting long, you guys. I hope that you feel that there is some pertinent information in here. Okay, this is our last slide. I only watched a few seconds of the video. At this point, she turns to him and she says, "You make me happy." So in the Jewish Gematria, that is code for September 11th. So I hope that it was worth this video, at least for that nugget. Can you believe that they have coded statements in here? And this is a movie, that comes out before the Twin Towers are brought down, and that it's coded to this level. Can you imagine this? I actually feel a little violated. Okay, so in the English and simple gematria, you make me happy equals Holy Trinity, Goddess of Venus, Eye of your mind, and Secret revealed. Up here, I wrote that what the Muppets equal, and I think I talked to you about this already, so I'm not going to go through that again. Bride equals 100, which matches Bible, Code, Magician, Fire, and Gemini. And in English, simple gematria, 228. We just need to kind of keep these numbers in our head. This is also a shooter number. I don't know why I didn't see that. I wonder if it's getting taken out. But whenever there's a shooter, that is a bride code, because shooter equals bride, unfortunately. This is an 11. So these numbers here match Kabbalah, Fire, Death, Gold, Noah, Jew, Max, Adolf, SS, and Adams. Now, Groom in Jewish gematria is 217. That equals Bride of God. Cookies. This ties into Cookie Monster. A long time ago, I did a decode on Cookie Monster. It's only 1 page long. That's scary. Very scary. Enigma of Pi. Sananda, I am. Please, he pretends to be Joshua. And this is when people pray to statues of Jesus. I think this is the guy who answers. And I don't recommend anybody talking to him. I know what's going on with him. And anyway, don't pray to him. Okay. Lion and lamb and gold ring. Okay, then in the simple and English gematria, we see the 408 and the 68. Now we know, I talked a lot about this with the stock market, right? And Morgan Freeman, and how it equals Barack Obama, Morgan, Easter, Market, Zohar, Amun Ra. Amun Ra, if you're a Christian, God love you. When you go to church or whenever you say Amen, you are saluting Marduk. And that's why this equals Marduk. It equals Amun Ra. Amun Ra is another name for Marduk. And you are saluting them because Amen means the hidden one. And Marduk was hidden because they locked him in the pyramid for being responsible for the death of his brother Dumuzi, who was the lover of Inanna. This is all Anunnaki, and I've had time to read all these books, and I know that they don't have the perfect truth in them, but I just want to share what I know with you, because I know that many people need to work so hard that they don't have time to study it, and so I wish to share what I've studied with you. And I don't blame you for not studying, because I know that most people are really struggling and they have to work and they don't have time. So please don't be mad at me, I just want to show you this. But I do think Christians do have the time to go home and Google Amen. I think you do have the time for that. Jericho, stock, and language. All right. So this is my last slide on this topic. I do want to kind of look at this a little more just for my own information to see what else I can learn about this Bride of Christ concept, and if I'm going to watch this movie because I want to know, what do they want to program us with? When I used to get a newspaper, I would look at the newspaper and think like, okay, what am I supposed to believe? What do they want me to believe? And this is before I learned any numbers or anything. That's how I read the newspaper, and I try to teach my kids to look at it that way. This is what they want you to believe. So that makes this movie valuable on this topic, because this is what they want you to believe. All right, well, thanks for watching, you guys.